Simon.
Hey Simon, it's Carrie. How are you?
I'm doing great, Carrie. Love to meet you. How are you?
Great. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. I just have a couple questions for you about Estranged.
Sure, no problem. Go ahead.
Okay, so my first question. You worked on the film both as an actor and for the first time as a producer. How did you come to be interested in the project? Did you start as an actor or did you come on as a producer and then act?
Well, what happened actually is I was actually at the birth of the idea actually for Estranged. So what happened was is that myself, William Borthwick, Craig Conway, and Stephen Towser, we all sat around the table in Craig's house in Covent Garden, and we were all coming up with an idea. So we wanted to do a film together, and we had this mansion that we could use, and we started coming up with spitballing ideas. Some of them good, some of them not so good. And then I think it was a Psy actually that came up with the idea for Estranged. So that's how it came to be in that respect. And I was just meant to be part of the acting team. How I came on board as a producer was more later on in the day. I recently finished Devil Inside, which shot and was picked up by Paramount, obviously. And
Right.
One of the people that was shepherding that into Paramount was Stephen Schneider. And I was just having a discussion with Stephen and telling him I was going back to England to shoot this movie, which was at that point called January.
Oh.
I explained to him the idea, and he absolutely loved it. And so when I came back, he asked to be introduced to Will and Adam, and I did the introduction. And Stephen came on board as executive producer, and I got an associate producer credit.
Oh, cool.
So that's how I you produce me.
What were some of the biggest challenges you faced as a producer while you worked on the project?
Well, thankfully I didn't really have. That was what I did. Really, was just sort of like create the introduction,
Okay.
and I was there. And then I let Will take over. Really, as producing isn't really my strong suit. Namely, I've never done it before. But it was a really interesting. I was sort of on the sidelines, sort of learning more than anything else, really. So I didn't really have anything difficult to say.
Would you like to produce again more in the future, or would you prefer to just stick to acting?
Well, I am actually producing a film. I've been working on a movie for the past 2 years, along with Matt Peterman, who's the producer of Devil Inside, Where, and also Katia Winter, who was recently seen in Sleepy Hollow, Fox's Sleepy Hollow. And we've been working on a film which is from a novella by Lawrence Pierce called Lost Inside, and it's a very exciting film. We're very, very excited about that. So we're just in the script is done. We've got a director on board, Joshua Caldwell, and we're just looking for financing at the moment, really. So yeah, it is certainly something I'm interested in doing. Yes, for sure.
Oh, cool. Well, good luck with that project. So let's talk about Estranged a little bit. So I first wanted to ask, the house where the family lives is absolutely beautiful. Is it somebody's house that you were given permission to film in, or was the inside of the house a recreated set?
It was all a house. It was somebody's house that we were allowed to film in. And not only did we shoot there, we actually lived there as well.
Oh, really?
So it was a very interesting shoot. So we lived in the set, essentially. There's this beautiful house just outside of Newcastle in the UK. And it was really, really wonderful to be a part of that, to both live in the set and shoot there was a very interesting, you know. We didn't have to go far for work every morning, you know. It was just literally walk outside, have breakfast, and then get to work.
What was it like living, especially in a house where you're filming a movie with such a creepy family? with such an intense horror story. Did that get bothersome at all?
No, not at all. The great thing is that everyone, all the people involved in it, is just like the loveliest people. You know, James, Jimmy, and NJ, Eileen, Amy, Craig. I mean, we just all had a ball together. Really, it was a lot of fun. You know, it really was.
So, how did you prepare for your role as Callum?
Well, I just it was kind of interesting. Callum's an interesting role because he's the real outsider.
Mm-hmm.
In the whole film, he is the outsider, and so there was a lot of feelings of kind of like isolation. I suppose is a theme of the film, and the isolation, and Callum was certainly that. So it was an interesting experience for me because of that, just feeling like a complete outsider a lot. So I sort of took myself away from a lot of things and kept myself to myself to a degree here and there, just to really bring those feelings forward in the movie. So that's kind of what I did in that respect. And then obviously working with Amy, we needed to establish a relationship. We met like I think about a week before we started shooting, and we just hit it off immediately, which helped no end in our relationship. So we did a lot of work together. Well, it was kind of like it involved like drinking alcohol really and having fun together, you know. But it was the best way to get to know each other very quickly and in a very fun manner. So we really wanted to because it's such a heavy movie, obviously, and a very difficult film to watch. Any moments that we had together, such the moments in Costa Rica when we were on the moped, we wanted to really have that injection of fun, and that these two were a couple in love, you know. Mm-hmm. So that was something that was very important to us.
So Callum is partially responsible for January's medical condition, and in the film we see a lot of sort of vicious nitpicking from the family about his level of responsibility. Do you feel like Callum deals with what happened to January and his role in it, or does he just kind of move on and just try to take care of her?
Oh, I think it's a bit of both, really. I think he's racked with guilt for what happened, but he's still trying to do all he can. He's trying to put that to one side in order to do everything he can to be there for her, because he is her rock, right, completely. I mean, she's come out of this accident, and he is the only thing that's actually in any way a real, stable. And I'm sure that was a difficult process to even get to that point, because she couldn't remember him at that point, but that he was just there all the whole time. They had to almost restart their relationship. So I think that he had to put that to one side, the guilt that he had. Mm-hmm. But there is just also that intense love that he has for her, which is really it is a very, very difficult thing, because you suddenly a whole relationship is ripped away from him, and everything that she knew about him is just gone. So he's again is that feeling of isolation for Callum is very evident throughout the film, I think.
And his departure from the film is, to say the least, abrupt. Was his end always written into the film that way, or did it change over time with script rewrites?
No, it was always like that, and it was kind of an interesting sort of thing to get your head around. You know, suddenly he was there and then he wasn't.
Yeah.
And so we had many discussions about that, actually, and like, you know, did we want to see what happened to him, or did but we kind of came to the consensus that we didn't. That there was something so brutal about just him being just ripped from everything, just gone. You know, there was the real brutality which completely matches the family and just how they are. Just how brutal they are, and just how quick they are just to eradicate anything that's getting in the way of them and their goals. So we did talk about it. I had my difficulties with it for a bit. I had to be convinced, but no, I think it's very interesting actually, because usually you get the little story of him, how he came to be.
Yeah, exactly.
That, but in this, it's not there, and I kind of like that. I kind of like the fact that we don't see anything that's happened to him. He just disappears. There's a brutality to it, which I think is another further. It's just, that's what the family is. There's just such a brutality to how they are and who they are.
From a viewer standpoint, I found it kind of unsettling, because like you said, you usually get the closure of finding out later through a flashback or whatever, what happened to the character, and this time you just don't.
No, and I think that's exactly it. I think that's the thing that's kind of interesting about it, is that it's so unsettling. It's like, because we're also conditioned as an audience to, we're going to find that out, aren't we, later on? We're going to find out what actually happened to him.
Right.
And we just don't. It's less of the audience's imagination, to a degree, exactly what did happen to him, which is another disturbing sort of element. It's like, well, whatever you can concoct, that's what happened, really.
If I could ask you to speculate for a minute, what do you think happened to him?
Oh God, I think he was tortured pretty horribly for a little bit, and then put out of his misery.
Okay.
What way? I'm not sure, but really given too much of a thought about it. That's something I'd like thinking about, to be honest.
Yeah, they seem pretty brutal after, especially I thought the fire poker scene with James Cosmo and the daughter Catherine was probably one of the most disturbing. So after that, I think that family is pretty capable of anything.
Exactly. And, with their little dungeon that they've got down in the basement, I think that they had some fun with it before offing him. Sure.
So the film is palpably tense and deals with the very dark subject of rape, and in some ways more than once. How did the cast and crew deal with those dark scenes? And when you watch the film, does it still make you tense, or have you become, too close to the story?
No, I've always found that very disturbing. It really is, and I think, it was something. It is a very delicate subject, obviously, and it's something that we all wanted to approach, and the filmmakers and the cast wanted to approach delicately, and with taste, and it was a very difficult scene for those guys to shoot. I know that. I know Amy was a little shaken afterwards. So it was, but they all dealt with it in a really, really professional manner. And the one thing you could just, I think it's just, I don't feel it was anything gratuitous either, which is also important, and I think it was handled very well.
Right. So I noticed you've also done a lot of work for television in addition to your film roles. Is there one you prefer, and why?
Well, yeah, it's funny. I'm about to start a new TV show for
Westworld.
For Westworld, yeah, and I'm very excited about that. And I'm fine with the mediums are sort of like merging now. The television is becoming incredibly filmic in its nature. Also, so Westworld in particular, we're doing it's like a movie almost, and the storytelling now is becoming so, instead of like something having to have a whole story in an hour and a half or 2 hours, it could be pulled out over seasons sometimes.
Right.
So as an actor, there's a real exciting to take one character and just see how far it grows. So it's wherever the good content is, really, for me. I love both film and television. We really are living in the golden age of television now. That's changing so much, and it's changed the landscape so much. But it's in a very exciting time, for sure. Yeah, so I don't have a preference whatsoever. It's just wherever the good content is.
Whatever story interests you.
Yeah.
Could you tell me a little bit about Westworld? It's got to be really cool working with people like Anthony Hopkins and Ed Harris. When is this coming out?
Yeah, well, I can't tell you much.
Okay.
Because, I don't know much. But we're starting shooting, I believe, in July.
Okay.
I don't know when it is coming out, but it's been slated for 2015 date. What I can tell you about it is it's based on the film by Michael Crichton. And Jonah, Nolan, and Lisa have done an incredible job, pilot anyway, of just expanding that universe. And I will say people are in for a real treat. It's pretty incredible what they've created, and the characters that have been created, and the world itself is incredibly exciting, and it's going to be one that's going to be very interesting to explore. I play the narrative. I play the head of narrative design of the park, so I create all the storylines and the characters that inhabit the park, all the androids, so to speak. So I play the little artiste of the tech world, I suppose. With that comes a few little hippie bits. Let's put it that way.
Well, I'm really looking forward to seeing it. It sounds really awesome. And those are all the questions I have for you. Thank you so much for the time.
You've got it. No problem at all. Thank you so much indeed. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.